In the second hour, we'll do Q&A and support. If you need like coaching support, you'll understand more as we go. And then the third hour, we'll do some really serious, powerful energy work. You'll get energy healing, which I'll explain all of this, and we'll finish off with the DNA activation. So good, you're gonna love it. So I'll explain all of this, but I just want to let you know. So in between each hour, we'll take like a 5-minute quickie break. And if you need to get up at any time, please do. Okay, the other thing I just want to say before we officially get started, a couple of other quick things. I know Bonnie just mentioned this, so I'm not going to be collecting the email addresses from Kula. I just get them off that list. And if you would like, if you put your name and your email address on there, you'll get some free gifts from me, including a free class on learn animal communication. Anyone wants to communicate telepathically with their animals? Who's the animal lovers in the room? Awesome. Okay, I love you guys. Anyone want to learn more about how to access and develop your intuitive gifts? Your psychic intuitive gifts, which I'll explain more? Awesome. Well, you get 2 free classes on that from me. And as long as you put your email on there, right, so that I can make sure I can send it to you. And they're downloadable. Plus, you get a free Juicy Living ebook. Full of fun, inspirational quotes. And some weird ones, too. All right, so that is my intro thing. Okay, so let me just tell you real quick without going into my whole story. Who's ever heard of me before? Who knows about me? Because I'm new to Florida. Okay, so you guys are mostly all new to me. That's cool. And who's heard about the word Ascension? All right, you guys pretty much, you're curious about it, right? So that's why you're here today. Who is already practicing as a healer, a reader, an intuitive, animal communicator, telepathically? Anyone? Okay. I know there's a lot of Akashic Records practitioners. Okay. Has anyone ever accessed, do you guys know if you've ever accessed your theta brainwave before? Okay, just one? Okay. I know Bonnie has. And anyone ever familiar at all with a DNA activation? Okay, a couple of you, a few of you. All right, cool. All right, so let me give you my story here. And I want to go fast with it because a lot of times I get in my story, it takes too long. So, if you haven't already heard, my name is Spagna, and I consider myself to be a light worker and a starseed. Who knows what a starseed is? Cool. So a starseed is literally people who were planted here, seeded in planet Earth, to help during what was called Ascension, the shift of consciousness, or what you called 2012. So it was real, it was a very real event, but most people have no idea what it is. They just thought it was the end of the world, which was a bunch of hogwash, as you obviously know, because you're here. But a starseed was planted here, basically, seeded here, you could say, by the divine, by creator, by all of us, by the star nations. Who's into extraterrestrial stuff? Anyone? By our friendly brothers in the universe, brothers and sisters. A seed was seeded here to help, and the initial seeds were 144,000. That was the initial. And now we've grown because more seeds are popping and awakening and more are being born, and there's different groups that awake, different segments. But in any case, I'm a starseed. So that means my role here is to help humanity awaken to the ultimate truth of why we're here. And to the ultimate truth of who we are. So who knows what the ultimate truth is? Love. Right? Oneness. We're all connected. What we are is a bunch of individual egoic mindsets identifying ourselves as individuals, but really all we are is one. And that one is love. And that one is what we've called many times God or the Creator or divine, but that we might have different perspectives on what that divine creator God is. We might have followed different religions or different religious belief systems or different ideologies, but regardless of what our different unique paths were to coming into knowing this one or experiencing this one or what we might believe or perceive it is, ultimately it's love and it's one and we're all part of it, right? We're all connected to it, it's running in and through each and every one of us, and we are it, right? So that's like the ultimate truth in a sense. So anyway, that's what starseeds are here for. And most of my modalities and what I practice, I have a gazillion modalities. I always say I have a really big toolkit. And I use a lot of them, animal communication, telepathy, the Akashic Records. Does anyone know what theta healing is? use state healing. I'm a numerologist, spiritual numerologist, so I love doing people's numbers. I have so many modalities, healing modalities that I've studied over the years, because this is just definitely my divine purpose and my divine mission is just to be doing this work. So anyway, all right, so that's kind of the nuts and bolts. It's a short story on my background, but I've been doing this work for well over 20 years. And the main way I started was through my love for animals. So I wanted to make a difference for animals, and I had 3 mantras during college and after college in corporate America. Well, I worked in corporate America as what I call a slave. I call myself a good slave. And every day in corporate America, I would have these mantras in my head, and one was that I wanted the truth. Always wanted the truth. One was that I wanted to be of service to animals on a global scale. I didn't know what I was asking for. And the other was that I wanted God to be my boss. I just was really tired of the whole slave labor thing. So anyway, ultimately, that's kind of what I got. But animals became my teachers, and they taught me a lot of what I know and a lot of what I learned, and then later it became actually what I call my star family that taught me. And a huge part of what happened, and I'll complete my history with this part, was in 2006, my brother died. He lived in Florida of an unexpected drug overdose. And at that time, none of my gifts weren't really activated or turned on. I was always a really, I used to describe myself as a highly perceptive person, but I didn't know how psychic I was. And anyway, when he died, I started getting very clear messages from him. They were just undeniable, weird stuff happening that's just unexplainable stuff. And the more I would follow what I was getting from him, the more I realized it wasn't my imagination and I wasn't crazy, even though a lot of people thought I was, including my ex-husband. So I packed up and I moved to Maui. So I realized the big message he was giving me was, you're next. I was drinking excessively. I was drinking like 6 beers a day. I was smoking 2 packs of cigarettes a day through the slavery in corporate America. I wasn't on my mission. I was eating all fake foods, sugary foods. I was 65 pounds overweight. I never got to exercise. Forget yoga class. And I was pumped up on pharmaceutical drugs from well-meaning doctors. Like, literally, so many. You can't even imagine. And I was a shopaholic, too, because I was placated through shopping, thinking that that would be the solution. And I was a sugar addict, too. So anyway, I got the message from my brother, you're next if you don't change your ways. So I quit my job and I packed up, I moved to Maui. I lived there for 2 years. I became a Reiki master, and from that point on, it changed everything. Within the 2 years, everything I just mentioned was gone. I mean, the cigarettes were gone. Oh, I forgot to mention the $150,000 financial debt that I was in, bad debt. Like, all of that was gone within 2 years. So I knew that within those 2 years, what I knew was that as I got aligned with Source, and as I started doing what I came here to do, like all those things, it just fell away effortlessly. That was the easy part, actually. The stuff that I would have thought was most challenging. All right, so that is my story in a nutshell. And then after 2 years, I moved back here because I realized that was like my healing time. Now I was meant to bring this forward and share it. All right, so let's talk about Ascension. So, okay. What is your, Stephanie, hello. What is your understanding about Ascension? What do you guys think about what is Ascension?
Return to Source.
Return to Source. Yes. What else?
Elevating your consciousness.
Elevating your consciousness.
Collectively.
Yes.
Self-realizing.
Self-realizing. Yes. Awesome.
What comes after evolution?
It's what comes up after involution. Oh, that's very cool. Awesome. All right, well, so here's what I usually say. Ascension is a process where each individual human starts to recognize that the true divine being that they are is the God being. They're a God walking around in a body, and that so is everyone else. And that essentially this experience that we've had, which is called separation and duality, where You're separate from me, I'm separate from you, you're separate from one another. There's a space between us that's completely disconnected. It has nothing to do with anything else. All that's, and we're separate from Source, and you have to go to some church to pray or some gospel place or something like that to connect to Source. All that separation goes away. And that is what I call the third dimension. Do you guys know what the third dimension is? So the third dimension is based on separation. What are the elements of the third dimension? Who knows?
With, height.
Yes, did you watch my videos?
No.
Okay, so the third dimension consists of space, which is width, height, depth. That's space. That's a dimension. What else does it consist of?
Time.
Time's an illusion. Time's not real. Senses? Well, it could be light. See the light? So there's gradients of light. That's what makes colors, right? That's what makes all the different lights. Okay. And the third is what? Sound. So we can hear it. So you know that saying, first was the word? Right, that's a sound. But in reality, this third dimension, where it's all separation, where physicality exists, and we're physical bodies and physical beings, and all there is separation, this reality, based on separation, is what we're shifting out of. But the thing is, it comes into, it's still in the fifth dimension. So the ascension is the process where, as we recognize and awaken to the truth that we're all divine beings, with the power of this divine creator God, whatever you call it, however you label it, doesn't matter if it's Buddha, Krishna, Allah, Gandhi, God, whatever word you use to describe it, it doesn't matter. It's that all that stuff comes in as we recognize ourselves as it, whatever it is, right? So this process of ascension, we're taking the 3D reality with us. Who thought that maybe ascension meant we die, our bodies die? Whoever thought that? Like, that was the rumor of 2012, right? That was like the big fear. So, okay, but the thing is, you have to cross over from 3D to 5D. 5D is where it's all love, it's all oneness, everyone's a divine creator. Everybody's telepathic, everybody's psychic, everybody's an animal communicator, everybody's a healer, everybody's healed. There is no more death. When we're fully embodied here, there really is no more disease. Death becomes a choice, disease becomes a choice that you never really choose. You never wish it on anyone else because you understand that you live in this reality that's basically your creation, and you would never want to wish anything harmful on anyone else anyway, right? Because it's all this oneness and this love. And we bring all of this with us, but the problem is there's a bridge here. What's the bridge?
Fourth dimension.
Fourth dimension. So who knows what fourth dimension is?
It's the astral emotions.
It is. Okay. Fourth dimension is this huge chasm of energy. Now, religion would call fourth dimension, who knows? Purgatory. Yes. So fourth dimension, we could call it like a chasm, a space, where in this space, everything that's non-physical exists. So that includes thoughts, feelings, emotions. That includes non-physical beings that you might call entities. That includes our loved ones who have crossed over, who somehow can't seem to get into fifth dimension, or maybe they're just waiting to come back in. Or it includes, doesn't necessarily include them there, just sometimes they're there. It could include demonic forces, nothing to be really afraid of once you understand how that works, but they could be in there. Entities I mentioned. Anyway, non-physical things, right? Now, in the traditional world, a psychic, a regular 3D psychic who's hanging out here in 3D, how do psychics work? They're tapping into 4D. They're accessing information from the non-physical. They're able to access it, and they pull it in and they translate it. That's how a good psychic is working. But in reality, once you pass through this fourth dimensional realm, you get into 5D, all there is knowing. Knowing and loving. All right, so let's just talk some more about these dimensions. So here's the interesting thing about these dimensions. The fourth dimension, why it's so easy to get trapped in there, and why even religion does, I think they have this right when they call it purgatory, that you can get trapped in here, is that it's based on, what is it based on? Does anyone know? Frequency of vibration. So vibration is an energy, right? And everything has a vibration. So what's a low vibration energy? very slow, and they're very tight, intense anxiety, and they create, what do? Disease. They're heavy, they're dense, they drag you down. If you're stuck here, you can't get up to these, what? These are the higher vibrations. What are the higher vibrations? Love, peace, joy, bliss, acceptance, forgiveness, kindness, compassion. Those energies, they're fast. But they're not so fast, they're like waves that are moving, waves of energy. And they're vibrating, right? So a frequency is the speed at which the vibration of the energy is moving. Make sense?
Yeah.
So when you're feeling like happy and joyful, you come out of yoga class, you're in the bliss state. You know that state? Feels so good. I walk out of Sarah's class on Mondays, I'm like, oh yeah, if I could just keep this 24/7. You're all the way up here. You're hanging out in the higher realms, and you're just like practically bordering on 5D. If you really get 5D, you could just step into it. You're like, I'm here. Make sense? But if you're down here and you're like talking about your mother-in-law and what she's been doing to you, and pissed off at this one, and you're angry about that one, you know, you're hanging out down here in this density, you got to find your way through 4D. And the challenge of Ascension is, how does the human species make it across the chasm and into 5D 24/7? Not that 24/7 is real, but basically with the entire embodiment of the being.
Unscathed.
Well, you will come unscathed, because what happens is, as you're crossing through this chasm, so to speak, throughout all your endeavors, you're clearing, you're healing, you're releasing, you're transmuting, you're forgiving, you're letting go. You're gaining the gifts of the wisdom, the learning that comes through this process. And you do come out. Not only do you come out unscathed, you come out the kind of love that you're carrying through you, for your fellow humans and the animals and the earth, Mother Earth, the air, the water, all of it becomes just so much love. Sometimes you're like, you know, this is what it becomes. So it's not really even like you're scathed, because you release all of that in the process. Make sense? And this is what healers do. Really good healers are helping to clear this. Who's ever worked with a healer? Who's not actually a healer? Anyone? Yeah, you guys. Okay, so you know. So, all right, let's talk about the body parts, because this is important. Let me just do a, if I get silent for a second, I'm just checking, because Source is always teaching in me, through me, and telling me where to go with this. Okay, good. All right, so you guys understand this concept of the dimensions, yes? And you understand this concept of ascension is the idea where we shift out of this duality and this dualistic reality, where we shift into this oneness and this love for all, yes?
Yeah.
Okay. Any questions so far? By the way, I love questions. I mean, we can wait till the middle part, but if you want to ask in the middle, that's fine too. All right, so let's go to body parts. Is that where we want to go next? Yes. All right, so the idea here is that most humans, they hear about this, and the first thing that starts to come up is, well, it sounds really nice, but how do I know I have all that, and how do I know it's all in me, and how do I do it, right? I mean, that's, I see you shaking your head. Yes, that's like usually the first thing. It's like, okay, well, it sounds really good if you're a spiritual teacher, but if you're really just, you know, everyday human going to work every day. So, all right, so the thing to understand is that, first of all, this is the thing about the DNA. Every person right now is functioning, every human, regular human, everyday person is functioning from, how many strands of DNA do we have? 2, right? Protein building strands of DNA. And those are the things that up until now, who knows Bruce Lipton, Dr. Bruce Lipton? Heard of epigenetics? So up until now, we believed that we were the victims of our DNA. And so we moved through planet Earth, those of us, and many still are, moved through life on planet Earth believing that whatever was in your DNA, you better watch out. Angelina Jolie had her breasts removed, because you better watch out for your DNA. What's in there? It's pretty scary, right? But now with Bruce Lipton, what he's really teaching us is you're not a victim of your DNA. In fact, the DNA is responding to you, the thinker, the feeler. So this takes us back to that whole concept of, if your frequency, your vibration, your thoughts and your emotions are in this higher range of thoughts and feelings of love, of peace, of harmony, oneness, your junk, the DNA that you don't want isn't even going to get activated, right? Something that just gave me what I wanted to say. No, I lost it. Okay, so this DNA, the first 2 strands of DNA, the protein strands we know, but what has science discovered? In December of, I think it was maybe 4 years ago, I think it was 2012, Russian scientists published in multiple credible medical journals that actually there's 10 other strands of DNA within our body. I was point here, but just within our body. And this 10 strands of DNA was formerly thought to be junk, right? Good for nothing. And what they discovered was that actually it can be awakened and activated. They didn't know what it could be activated by, but they knew that certain energy activated it and started moving it around and doing things. And here's the funny thing, they don't really know what it's for. They still don't know. They're like trying to figure out what's it for. What do you guys think it's for? What's it for?
Ascension.
Travel.
It's for more than ascension though. I mean, it's ascension. As it wakes up, it's ascending. It's helping you to ascend. What is it?
It's awakening our light bodies.
It's all your gifts. It's everything. So as you start awakening your gifts, as you start awakening this DNA, your gifts come online. You suddenly start to realize you're not sick anymore. What happened? You don't have this illness. You don't have that illness. Then you start going, wow, I'm starting to have these like woo-woo things happen. Wow. What a coincidence. Which, by the way, you guys know about the word coincidence? It's basically, right, Wayne Dyer teaches about this. It's like based on mathematical formula where 2 things coincide. There's no such thing as coincidence. It's a mathematical scientific fact. When 2 things come together, they're coinciding. There's no coincidence about it. But anyway, the point is so as you get your DNA awakens, now you don't get sick anymore. Now suddenly you start to have these like knowings within you, and you suddenly start to be like, wow, I just thought that. You're manifesting. You guys understand the concept of manifesting? A few years ago, nobody even understood that. You start to like realize you can just call things into your reality. You can just have things. You can just start creating things. And before you know that, you can actually start to help other people really well. You can like put your fingers on people, and people can start getting healed. And you can send energy, you can throw energy, you can play with energy. You start realizing you can telecommunicate with other animals. You can do all kinds of things. You're like, what the heck is going on? And before you know it, everybody else can do it too. Because it's all in your DNA. You cannot not have it. You have it, it's in your DNA. Every human being has it. We have 12 strands of DNA that science validates is within each and every one of us, and it's dormant. And all you have to do is activate it. You have to understand how energy works to get it activated. Now here's the catch. DNA. Here's the catch with the DNA. There is a safety valve. There's a safety valve that will not let anyone activate beyond the first 2 strands. What's the safety valve? Compassion. The energy of compassion. Therefore, as a human being, you must already generally carry the energy of compassion, which comes from the heart center. When I talk about the body parts, we'll talk about this more. So you already have compassion within you, activated enough. That's the doorway that opens and accesses the rest of your DNA. Once you're a truly compassionate person. Why is that? Because these gifts within our DNA are so powerful that you have to really be a compassionate person before you can really fully activate them, because otherwise, if we use them, this is why Dick Cheney doesn't have a heart, you get it? This is one of my favorite jokes, I made it up. Why does Dick Cheney not have a heart? Because he's a dick! I really love it. But so here's the thing, and it's not a Republican, Democratic thing at all. It's just a matter of like, we'll get into this a little bit, it's a whole conspiracy. We can talk about that. But anyway, the point is that as you activate your DNA, all your gifts come online. And the only thing is you really have to be a sincerely compassionate, caring person. And I mean, everybody is. If you made it into this room, for sure you already are. So, and most humans are. I mean, we're human beings. The truth about human beings, we'll talk about this more, is that we are truly divinely compassionate beings, truly divinely caring beings, and we just got so switched off from our connection with Source that we somehow lost so much of our sensitivity. And a lot of this has been done deliberately, like by ourselves, by others. We can get into that more a little later. All right, so let's go back to the body parts. All right, so we know we all have this DNA, and actually what we also know, and this is not something that any scientists will document or validate, but in the spiritual world, metaphysical world, we can say this because it's coming from a different source of consciousness. We actually have way more than 12 strands of DNA. And depending on what spiritual teacher you ask, they'll tell you different numbers. From my point of view, we have 144 at least strands of DNA. The thing is that beyond the first 12 strands, they're not visible to the human eye. They're etheric, they're energetic. And you can't even access them until you're basically living a reality in 5D, because there's a lot of dimensions beyond the fifth dimension. The job right now on planet Earth is to get everybody into this 5D reality. Once you get in there, you start playing the upper dimensions, and you can access way more of the DNA. This is when you start having people doing things like teletransporting. Who's heard of that? So one of my teachers, his name is Khan, he goes into a room, closes the door, packs one little suitcase, he thinks it, he blinks it, and he can end up on the opposite side of the planet. It's not an illusion. It's real. There's people who have documented it, like he's documented it too. And then one of my other teachers is, I'm already taking flying lessons. And when I talk about flying lessons, I'm talking about beyond levitation. It's projection to the other side of the room or somewhere, like we do in a hotel, one of those big, huge hotel. It's pretty cool, right? But that's beyond the first 12 strands as far as I know. We're talking about, one of my other teachers, her daughter walks through walls. Like technically you should be able to put your finger, this is not even real, right?
Yeah.
It's not even solid. Because everything's just energy. So even solids are just vibrations of energy, right? All of this stuff exists in these other DNA strands. It's just that most humans haven't even gotten, to the first 12. All right, make sense? A little crazy? I have another teacher, by the way. So awesome. Who knows who Joe Dispenza is? Love Joe Dispenza. So you take his class, he talks about this experience where he's out camping. He's just got so many examples of where, he's dematerialized the physical world. Because this is non-material, it just seems material to us. Well, in any case, so he talks about this one experience where he's hiking in the woods and he's thinking about going back to his camper where he's going to have some grapes and some fruit and cheese and wine, and he's thinking in his mind, wow, I just wish I had a baguette. I just wish I had a baguette. And out from the sky pops a baguette, just falls in his hand. Baguette. So you hear this stuff, you think it's crazy, but you have to hear that person's presentation. I'm just giving you examples of what potential exists for us once we start tapping into this stuff. All right, but right now we're talking about the basic, easy things to understand, connecting with our angels. Who's connected with their angels? It's fun having angels and an angelic team, right? It comes so easy once you start activating the DNA. Using our telepathy. All right, let's talk about where the body. I got sidetracked. So, all right, so what are the parts of the body that we have that enable us to do all of this besides just the DNA? Not just the DNA. But what are the parts of our body? Who knows?
Pineal gland, pituitary, thymus.
Yes, pineal and pituitary gland. Tell me about those. What are they? What are the pineal and the pituitary gland?
Pineal is the third eye area.
Yeah. This is what psychics and spiritualists call your third eye, right? So these are master glands in the rear back of the brain, kind of like the center, back. And these master glands, pineal gland and pituitary gland, are your psychic centers, right? In fact, they're the parts of the body that really orchestrate almost everything in a way, really. All your information is being processed through those two master glands. Now here's one of the major problems for Americans especially, but people all over the world. What calcifies, i.e. shuts down, hardens, the pineal gland and the pituitary gland?
Fluoride.
Years ago, nobody even knew that. Fluoride. Genetically modified food. GMOs. Artificial food.
Corn syrup.
Corn syrup. All artificial foods. Yes, corn syrup's definitely in that category. Gluten could potentially because it's genetically modified. So anything artificial that the body doesn't know what to do with. So technically gluten is fall in that category. Here's the biggies. Who likes those artificial sweeteners? Pink and blue and yellow packets? Those are deadly. They shut this down. Now the good news is this stuff can be reactivated. You guys come in? This stuff can be reactivated. So you don't have to be afraid that it's done. If it's shut down, if you feel like you have absolutely no clairvoyance, clairaudience, clairsentience, these are the things that are happening through here. This is what the psychic's using, part of it. Now, let me come back to that. Let's go over to the brainwaves. Who knows what the brainwaves are? Alpha? What's alpha? Alpha is, who sat in front of the sunset? Light meditation? Zoning? Chilling out? What happens when you're in front of the TV and you're vegging out? It's the alpha brainwave. What does the alpha brainwave do? Its job is to restore you to homeostasis, calmness, but it only does one thing actually. That's what it does, but it says one thing. This is what it says. Yes. It's very suggestive. I'll come back to the alpha in a second. All right, what else is there? Beta. What's beta? Active and alert. Awake and aware. Doing. It's the doing brainwave. So when you're making your list, when you're grocery shopping, you're in the beta. Okay, what's delta? You guys know delta? Sleep. Okay, then you have your two other brainwaves that most humans never access, at least unless they're meditating. Alpha is your light brainwave, but theta is serious brainwave meditation. You're in the zone. You're just yeah, this is awesome. And the thing is, with theta, once you're in the theta brainwave, you're still completely awake and aware. So that's when you start being able to have discussions and conversations, chatting with non-physical beings. Because it's a brainwave frequency that connects you with universal intelligence. It's where telepathy happens. It's how really good telepathy happens. It's the frequency that animals are communicating on.
But you can get that without meditating.
You can get to it when you get really
Right?
good.
I feel like I'm
Yes,
there all the time, often, but I'm a doer.
yes.
I'm present.
You can do it. You can do it because the thing that's beautiful when you get really good at accessing the theta brainwave, you can be in and out of brainwave frequency all the time. You're moving. I don't have to go into a meditation to use all my psychic gifts at all. I can just get quiet for 2 seconds, listen. Yeah. But in the beginning, when you're learning, it's a little more challenging, right? Okay, so that's the theta. And then your last one is what?
Gamma.
Gamma. What is gamma? Gamma's high-level learning. So when you talk about spoon bending, it's when you're able to affect things outside of you without touching them, just with your mind. So it's high-level learning. In fact, who ever saw the movie Men Who Stare at Ghosts? Remember that movie with George Clooney? Do you remember how he had to kill a goat?
Remote viewing and all that.
Remote viewing. Right, well that's when he's using a gamma brainwave, and that's actually based on real government tests. So they know already, the government, many people who know how to access a gamma brainwave, you can manipulate things without ever even looking at them and touching them. I think I just said spoon bending is a really good example of that. All right, so those are your 5 brainwaves. Now, every person has them, and the more you start accessing the higher frequency brainwaves, the more able you are to do things like have telecommunication with an animal or another person, or you think a thought of a person that 2 seconds later they're in your inbox and you're like, I was just thinking of you, and or the phone, you know how that works, right? Okay. All right, so everyone can access these, it's just not everybody knows how. And here's the challenge, I want to just go back to that alpha brainwave, why this is so important, is to understand the power of the alpha brainwave, because it's so suggestive. What it's doing is it's taking information in from the world and it's just saying yes, all is well. It's always responding with a yes because it wants to bring you to homeostasis, to balance, to calmness. So when you're listening to something on the TV or the radio, you're passively driving in the car, do you need a lawyer? Did you have an accident this week? Do you have mesothelioma? Your brain is like, yes. And here's what happens. Here's what's even scarier a little bit. Not to get you scared, because there's nothing to be scared of, right? Once we get into the energy healing, you realize there's nothing to be scared of. But what happens is you've got, the average person right now is using how much of our conscious brain?
10%.
10%. The average person, if they're not meditating. So So that means the alpha brainwave, I mean, by default, you got 90% is unconscious. So by default, what's happening is that conscious alpha is saying yes to everything, and what's it doing? It's depositing it into the unconscious. And you don't really know when it was deposited, because you could have gotten something when you were 14, when your mom said something like, all men are bastards. And you just believed it. You know, you're in the innocence of like, okay, yes. You don't have to be in an alpha brainwave necessarily, but you just deposit it in there and you start carrying this belief system around. And now what's happening with this belief system?
You're embodying it.
It's in your unconscious and it's vibrating. I'm going to get to the laws. That's what it gave me. I'm going to get to the laws. But it's vibrating out from you. It's creating your reality. All right. Let me come back to the body parts first, then we'll go into the laws. So, okay, we know about the brainwaves. We know about the pineal pituitary. Now, what do we have here? Thymus, right? Thymus gland, it's called the high heart. That's an extrasensory gland, sensing things, it's perceiving and receiving. And of course we have our major center here, which is our heart center. And the heart center is basically an energy. First of all, the heart has actual brain matter. So the heart actually, this is scientifically documented, the heart actually has its own brain. That's amazing. So what is the heart doing? It's sensing, it's feeling. And you know it. Who's ever walked? You know how you walk into a yoga room, you sit on the floor, it's dark in here, and you're like, yes, oh, I'm so glad I'm here. Thank you for bringing me here, body. You're like in the zone. Your heart is just feeling that. You just surrender to that moment, right? But then go put yourself out in the middle of like a busy intersection at 5 o'clock. The lights are red. It's raining. You know, someone's honking. Someone, you know, you're like, your body starts tensing up. And the thing is that most people, because they're so shut down here, they're not physiologically aware. But they're carrying around all this tense, almost 24/7, and they don't ever like come to a yoga place or a meditation room to come back into that homeostasis, right? But this is all happening from here. Like you can just, even for 2 seconds, you can just imagine if you put yourself, you were to close your eyes, you don't have to do it this moment if you want, just for understanding. If you were to close your eyes and stick yourself out in the middle of like the most beautiful beach, it's totally placid, there's no one around, there's no sounds, it's just the beach and the waves and the sand beneath you, and you're like, yes. And then put yourself in like Whole Foods at the most busiest time, rush hour, there's lines, there's noise, there's music, there's these horrible lights, there's people running past you, and you just know you just feel the difference, right? And this is all being experienced through the heart center, because your brain's not usually sitting there going, okay, wow, I just noticed the tension there. Wow, I can feel that person's back pain. Wow. Because that's all happening unconsciously. But your brain is taking this information in through the different waves. Your heart brain is taking this in through the different frequencies of energy, and it's processing 50 billion bits of information in a minute. 50 billion bits of information. I'm asking myself, is it per minute? Yeah, per minute. You got that calculation right. So this is all getting deposited in your unconscious, your body's responding, you're getting stressed or you're relaxing depending on your circumstance, right? Environment, right? Okay, so but this is an area of intelligence is what I'm saying. And the other thing is that most people are so shut down here because they're so up here in their beta brainwave so often because we've been conditioned to do. And the moment you get in your alpha brainwave, you're laying there and you're like, yes, I have mesothelioma. This is, you better call my doctor. Oh, you better ask your doctor if this is right for you. Oh, maybe I have that problem. Gee, I did have some foggy thinking. I must need Claritin. There's a reason they call it programming. You understand? Human beings are being programmed. Okay, let's go a little further. So beyond the heart center, we have another area of general intelligence of the body that processes information. Where's that? Does anyone know? Where?
Heart.
Okay, so we did the heart. So what I was going to is skin. Who knows goosebumps? Who got goosebumps? Who got? But that's your skin is taking in information. It's processing that information. And it's sending it through your nervous system. And your nervous system sending it up. Circulatory system sending it up to your pineal gland and your pituitary gland. Your pituitary gland is going over to your right brain. What's the right brain? Sorry. Yeah, it's going over to the right brain. What's the right brain? Creative. It's your sensory brain. It's your awareness. And yes, creative. But if you're writing a song, you're using your left brain, right? Left brain is your knowledge, your analyzing brain, right? So it's taking this information in, it's circulating it through the circulatory system, it sends it up to the pineal gland and the pituitary gland, then that sends it to the right brain. The right brain has this awareness, it's got to circulate some more now, it's got to go over to the left brain goes, what the heck is that? The right brain goes over and feels some more, the left brain goes over, oh, it smells bad in here, or oh, it smells pretty, or whatever label it needs to give it. Make sense? Now they get to connect and go, okay, there's understanding. But this is what's going on. Your skin is taking this information in from the environment. This is why when you're in an environment that you like, you feel good. The heart's feeling it, the skin's feeling it, everybody's in agreement. When you're in an environment where you feel bad, Thanksgiving, where you're fighting with all your family members, something like that, you're all tense. Just what's happening. Okay, makes sense? So but the key is as we activate these, and as we become more conscious and awaken, start using these gifts and become aware, practice being aware, our unconscious starts to become less and less and less. We're starting to use more of our brain because the average human who's just using 10% of their brain isn't paying attention to any of this. It's happening, but they're completely oblivious, right? Completely clueless to it. Not because they're incapable of it, just because the demands of life and the way this society has been functioning requires you to shut everything down or else you can't function. Really, you can't. Make sense? Yeah. Okay, so who's a super sensitive in this room? Okay, you know, for a super sensitive, you go into a room sometimes and you're like, I can't stay here. I don't mean to be rude. I just can't stay here. I gotta get out. Like, I can't even go into a bar anymore. Like pre-Ascension, I used to love bars. It was fun. In fact, I was this weekend. I was over in Sarasota. I was visiting this amazing friend of mine who's doing some healing work up there, and we were driving past, we were on Siesta Key Beach, it was like so pretty. It was like nighttime and everybody's hanging out listening to Jimmy Buffett and they're drinking their beers and I'm like, oh, those days, they were so much fun. Can't do that anymore. Separation was so much fun for a little while. Alright, so you get the sense. Now let's talk about the laws and energy. Anyone have any questions so far? I forgot to ask my big question I always like to ask. Is there anyone in the room who's a total skeptic about this stuff? No? Okay. If you were, maybe if I asked you in the beginning, you might have said yes. I don't know. Okay, because the skeptics, you understand?
I do have a question.
All right, let me just say this one thing. The skeptics, the thing about skeptics, who lives with skeptics? You guys live with skeptics. Who hangs out with skeptics? Who's ever tried to sway a skeptic? Don't waste your time. This is the problem. You see, what skeptics don't understand. What's the problem with skeptics? They're in their left brain. They're always in the beta. Beta, delta, maybe alpha when they're watching TV. Reading some, even if you're reading poetry, unless you're in the zone of like receiving the poetry, that's a problem. The skeptic will never not be a skeptic because he or she's hanging out in the left brain, and you cannot get out of skepticism until you get over to the right brain and experience it. And then you're like, oh. Right? So don't waste your time, because unless they're going to come over to a meditation class with you, there's no way any skeptic's going to change their mind, because they don't know. The right brain, the left brain, this is my favorite quote, and it's my original quote, the left brain is trying to figure out what the right brain already knows. You're not a skeptic because you've been in the right brain. You sat in bliss state in yoga class. You know there's something going on. You know, or you were with a healer. You sitting open your records. You know. No one can tell you it's not true. You might sometimes think you're a little crazy. You might sometimes doubt things. But no, you know there's something going on. You get a sign from Archangel Michael and suddenly something comes up and you're like, no one is going to tell me it's not real. The problem is the skeptic can't get there because he's too busy hanging out in his left brain. All right, so, okay, you had a question.
I did, okay. So, when you're on your way from 3 to 5, and in that 4 area, do you think it's possible that you're given, like, immense challenges so that you can be forced to let go of your past?
Yes.
And then eventually activate your DNA?
Yeah, it's not even possible. It's
That's what
absolute.
happens.
That's why religion will call it purgatory, because you can get stuck. You see, if you start hanging out in these energies, anyone ever had somebody that were it's just so hard to forgive something or someone? I mean, we've all had it, right? The thing that's just so hard to forgive. You know you have to forgive it. You want to forgive. You pray, help me forgive. And you just can't forgive. Might be yourself, might be God, might be your best friend, your family members. You're stuck. You feel stuck. That's when you, yes, you absolutely. The whole thing of shifting from 3D to 5D is a huge, massive challenge because the left brain has belief systems and the unconscious has all kinds of stuff stored up in there from lifetimes. And you're trying to work through it, and meanwhile your left brain's trying to make sense of it, and you're reenacting it meanwhile because you're a creator. You're a creator being. Your thoughts and your emotions and your beliefs are creating your reality, so it's getting acted out. It gets re-triggered, and you sit there like trying to work it out. It's challenging. It's really, this is very challenging times. Who has been having a challenging time? Yeah, I mean, I think if you haven't been having a challenging time on planet Earth over the past few years, you're probably either not being honest with yourself, or maybe you just haven't been working through your stuff yet. I don't know. Okay. I mean, overall, we can look at the state of planet Earth and we can see we're in a lot of challenge, right? All right, so let me come to the laws. This is important, and then there was something else, sacred contracts. Let me just check my time here. How am I on time?
Great.
Perfect.
Oh, wow, okay. Wow, I'm not done with my talking part. Okay, so, the laws. All right, so who knows what the universal laws are? Okay, universal laws are laws that cannot be broken. So we have laws in our planet. Let's just say laws in the United States first, since we're here in the United States. And you can break a law. If you want to, you can break it. You don't have to stop at that stoplight. You know, you don't have to not steal. Right? And we mostly assume that you don't have to wear your seatbelt. But a universal law cannot be broken, because it was set up by the divine creator, whatever you want to call that creator. So these laws are in existence whether we know them or not. It's kind of like gravity. Gravity is not a universal law. Gravity is only a law of nature. But it doesn't matter if you believe in it. It's there. Well, it's the same thing for universal laws. Universal laws apply to our universe. So they're real whether you know them or not, and the problem is most humans have no idea about them. We're not exactly taught them. And the other thing about the universal laws is that most humans were trained actually in the absolute opposite of the way these laws work. So first I'm going to tell you about what the laws are, because it's really important. In the fifth dimension, you have to understand the laws and you have to live by them. And you will anyway, because they're in service to all of humanity. So the first law, what's the first law? Does anyone know?
Positive average.
That's not the first. That is one.
Polarity.
You guys are awesome, but no, none of them. The first law is the law of love. It's also the law of one. It's the first and most important law. It supersedes every other law that I'm going to give you, and that is, all there is love, and all that love is one. The one is love. And this law of love is a law of consciousness, too, because consciousness is just a vibration and a frequency that feels like love, even better, bliss, something like that we rarely get to access. We rarely get to really fully be the full and complete embodiment of that, vibrating in and through us so entirely. That's the first law. Love, the law of love.
Is harmony part of that law?
Yeah, I mean it is, because what we're talking about is, it's a range of frequency, a range of energy that all vibrate in harmony together. So what vibrates in harmony with love? Harmony, peace, kindness, compassion. I mean, they're all love, but they're slightly different gradients based on their frequency. It's sort of like, if you want to listen to 92.7, which is rock of ages, or if you want to listen to 92.9, which is smooth jazz. Or do you want to listen to something else, right? It's all just all frequencies. What are you tuning into? But the ones that are in harmony are going to be the closest ones together. Does that make sense? All right, so that's the first law. Now, you mentioned cause and effect. That's a law. Let's take it a little step back though. So if all there is one, and that one is love, you are that one, right? We are that one. I am that one. And the one is the creator. So the other law that goes hand in hand with the law of one in this universe, because there's other universes, in this universe is the law of creation. So the law of creation is based on you are the one is the love is the creator. You are the creator. That's part of that law of one. So that creation is based on your free will. That's part of the law of one, law of free will, right? Now, this law of free will basically says you will create whatever you put your attention on. Whatever you think, whatever you feel, consciously or unconsciously, you are the creator. So let's talk about the other laws. Law of radiation. What is law of radiation?
It's what you're putting out in energy.
Yeah, you're radiating from you. You, the creator, radiate out energy from you. Whatever's radiating from you, law of radiation is coming from your thoughts, your emotions, what you put your attention on. Okay? You have a question?
Yes.
Yes.
The law of love, were you saying law of creation, law of one, law of free will, that's all part of law of love?
Well, you know, I used to teach it like they're two separate laws, like in 11, standing side by side, because that's how I got it, because I'm a numerologist. There's both the laws, they're both the first laws. That's how I got it downloaded and taught to me. Most of what I teach, I just get from source consciousness, by the way. But now, it's just all part of the same law. Just know, those are the predominant things to understand. It's a law of one, which is a law of love, which is a law of creation, based on you're the creator. You are the loving creator. Okay? All right, so radiation, everything radiates out from you. Next law, law of circulation. Everything circulates through the field of your creation, right? And then what's the next one that's most popular?
Law of attraction.
Law of attraction. So you radiate out from you, it circulates out through the field, it attracts back to you. But you're the one creator, you created it. Make sense so far? Okay, now there's other different laws in there, but these are some of the most important ones. Then law of cause and effect. Law of cause and effect says there's an effect to every cause. There's a cause behind every effect. What's the cause? The cause is you. You're the cause. You're the creator. Your thoughts, your emotions, whether they're conscious or unconscious, whether you know it or not, known or unknown, you created something, it goes out into the field, it circulates around, there's an effect, it attracts back to you, cause and effect. Make sense? It's always happening. Now there's other laws that are important, but these are some of the major ones. But let's just go for a second to the money thing. I just want to do a little sidebar here on money. So who has a belief system that the more money you spend, the less you have? You spend some money, you're out, right? You give some money away, who has this belief system?
Hopefully.
I mean, humans have it. Okay, but it's contrary to the law. Who believes that you have to save? Scrunch, save, hold on. It's contrary to the laws. It's not how the laws work. If I take money out right now and I donate 20 bucks in there, and by the way, I didn't say this before, but all the donations go to, yoga. I'm not taking any. That just goes straight to the shop, Kula. But I circulate out money. I donate money. Come on in. Have a seat anywhere. I donate money or I give it out. What does the law say? It's going to circulate around. It's going to come back to you. And oh, by the way, I forgot this part. Law of attraction is equal or greater force. So if I give 20 bucks out tonight, I can almost guarantee you that there'll be 100 bucks in my inbox tomorrow. And it works with everything. It's not just money. Love, kindness, generosity. This is one of my other original quotes. The fastest way to wealth is through generosity. It's absolutely true. It's the way the laws work. The problem is the law of creation, which supersedes all the other laws, says if you have a belief system that if you give away money and you have less, that law of one is going to validate that for you. You understand? Because you're the creator, and that's the law of one. That's the free will law. So this is why it's so important to start getting into those unconscious belief systems. This is what the healing does. The healing work does. Make sense? Yep. Okay, any other laws I have to say that are really important? Okay, by the way, what's the law of karma? What's karma?
Cause and effect.
Cause and effect. So, I'll just take a little side dovetail note here to this whole conspiracy stuff. There's a lot of people who are, we'll call them people, who are wanting to control the world through fear. So if they can make you think that you're a bad person and that something bad will happen to you, that if you do something bad or wrong, you've got some karma. It's all a lie. The karma is just cause and effect. Understand? All right, I'm gonna move forward because I know it's time-wise, so, but those are some of the major laws. There's more. I definitely invite you to learn more about the universal laws, and I'll share more with you later tonight if you want to learn more about them. There's not a ton of them, there's like just a few. And really, the truth is at the highest level, there's even fewer than laws that apply to all creation, which is just you exist, you are love, and everything will change, except those. But in our universe, we have more laws. So, okay, I'm talking about this universe. All right, so let's just go a little bit really briefly to sacred contracts. Okay, so what happens here is that what we do is, in our reality, in the separation, right, in the third dimension, we make certain agreements. So what's a sacred contract? Who knows? What's a sacred contract?
It's an agreement our higher self made before coming into this illusion.
Yes, it is. It is an agreement. So, what's this right here?
The laptop.
A laptop, but actually it's a sacred contract. We all agreed that something would be created, and we would collectively call it a contract, a laptop. And when it came into existence, we'd start using it. What's this? A wall, right? But the fact that it exists is a sacred contract. Because in reality, all that exists, this is what I was saying before, is just energy, frequencies of energy, vibrations. There's nothing solid. So technically, it's not even really solid, but the fact that we experience it as solid, that's all based on a sacred contract. So we made agreements to come to this reality and experience duality and separation, separateness from source, separateness from one another, and we made sacred contracts. And we agreed that we'd go through this thing where we were all in separation, and then eventually we'd all wake up. And that would be a glorious, wonderful thing as we come to this love. Make sense? So all of Ascension, here's the beauty. Ascension is everything about Ascension, everything about our process of working through our issues, our unconscious pain, struggles and traumas and dramas, the problems we're having with one another, the problems we're having on the planet. All of that stuff is written into sacred contracts. And here's the beautiful thing about this. These sacred contracts actually are designed to support us. They're designed to assist us in coming back home to oneness, right? And coming back into our unity consciousness. So these sacred contracts, the only reason this wall is here is so that we don't think we're crazy right now, right? But as you shift out of that and you clear these contracts, this is when you get to, also it helps you to ascend, right? Because you're clearing and resolving the contracts that you made. And what's the ultimate purpose of a contract? Who can guess?
To heal, to help us grow.
Yeah, I mean, it's really designed to help you to find your way into some kind of expansion of consciousness. And the idea with these contracts is basically there's some kind of gift of wisdom, of learning, of love, of forgiveness, of understanding. There's some kind of gift in there that you put in there, that you get to discover and uncover as you find out about this contract. So all of Ascension is actually a contract. Now this is an important thing on two levels, on many levels, so many levels. I have a whole class on sacred contracts. But what's really important to understand as it relates to Ascension is that Ascension is guaranteed. It is happening right now. It is guaranteed. And so even though the majority of humans don't know about it, on planet Earth still, you could say the word Ascension, most people have no idea what that word is. Most people don't even know what the shift of consciousness is. Most people don't even understand that something really big is happening on planet Earth right now. It doesn't matter that they don't know it, because it's guaranteed. It's in the contracts. And here's why this is so significant, is that when fear starts to come up, like, oh my God, what's happening? The Republican Party just collapsed. Like I read in here, a lot of people love Donald Trump, but he really was not a Republican. He didn't rise up through the ranks as a Republican. The Republican Party is dead. It's over. Okay, so that is part of the collapse of what we call the 3D paradigm, the old regime. It's written into the contracts. It must collapse. Even when the first economic collapse of our lifetime, or well, maybe not all our lifetimes, but of most recent in 2008, 2006 to 2008, whenever that was, happened, even though it instilled great fear, it's because the financial system must collapse. It is based in an old paradigm that keeps people in slavery. These are just sacred contracts playing out. And it's not to belittle the pain or the struggle. It's just to understand that when you see these terrible things happening in the world, it's because they must collapse. They're based on an old paradigm that keep people in separation and struggle and polarity, and they're collapsing as they must and as they should. And this is part of the ascension process. So the average human is looking at that going, what's going on? Oh my God, the Earth's, going through hell. But really what it is just the old paradigm is leaving, and it's being rebuilt in a whole new way as we go. It's really happening quite gracefully from my point of view. Now, similarly, sacred contracts, very important to understand, because who has in this room has an illness or a disease that they're dealing with, physical?
And I feel like I'm transforming it again. I've had it for 18 years.
Yeah, okay, that's a perfect example. If you have any kind of physical health issue, who has major relationship challenges? Come on, you guys raise your hands. Everybody has that. Yeah, okay, those are sacred contracts. Right? Those are sacred contracts. Who's ever felt victimized by somebody else? Yeah, I mean, I don't know. You're not raising your hand. You're not being, to me, you're not, I don't know how you could not. We've all gone through these kinds of struggles in life. These are sacred contracts. And the purpose of these sacred contracts are designed to help us to work through these issues so that we can receive some kind of gift of expansion and learning. And then what's going to happen is as you receive the gifts, you're like, I'm going to share this with others. Is that happening to you, Stephanie? In a big way? As you start to receive the gifts of your learning from this, like, maybe horrendous experience, like, I would never repeat those 2 years of Maui. It was like, who knows what a dark night of the soul is? It was awful. I lost everything. I mean, I was at a point picking up 7 pennies on the ground. No kidding. Thank you, God, 7 pennies. Like, my health went. I mean, I had no food. My dog died at the end of the 2 years. It was awful. Saturn return. You guys know what that is? Yeah, I mean, I had nothing. I lost everything. But I would never repeat that, but it's what brought me now. I'm like, oh my God, I have so much to share. So much to give. Not just from that, but from everything that came through it even afterwards. And this is what happens. This is all about what the sacred contracts are. So I can assure you, if you're having some kind of physical health issue, if you're having some kind of emotional stuff going on, anxiety, stress, if you're having money issues, if you're having relationship issues, challenges with work, who's trying to figure out their mission in life? That's a big one. Want me to give you the short answer to your mission? Short answer is you're supposed to discover yourself as joy and love and go share it with everybody. But I know that's not the answer we're all looking for, because we have work, we have a purpose to share, but, okay, I can talk about the mission thing during questions if you want to ask about that. Please ask about it, because I could go down that spend an hour on that topic too. But the idea is, if you understand whatever you're going through, there's sacred contracts involved. Who's ever lost an animal companion? Deep grief. Oh, that's the worst. Torture. Sacred contracts. That's all sacred contracts. So the contracts, if you understand that whatever challenge you're going through, there's an ultimate purpose designed to help you to learn, grow, expand your consciousness, forgive, or receive some kind of major gifts for you as a human being and as a God incarnate, that these gifts, you can start to receive them just simply by asking, what are the gifts in this? What am I meant to receive? How is this meant to serve me? That immediately starts to shift you out of the pain, struggle, trauma, drama, and immediately you'll start to, wow, life will start to change very quickly on that stuff. Okay, is that helpful? Okay, there's so many more things I can give you, but I kind of want to give you a break and then we can do the questions. Let me just do a little check-in here if there's anything else major. Okay, I want to just touch, can I touch on the conspiracy, or does nobody want to hear about that? People don't like the conspiracy stuff. Okay, you want to hear about that. I personally love this stuff, but it just evokes a lot of fear. Who knows who David Icke is? David Icke? Okay, I don't necessarily recommend listening to him. It's like when I used to listen to him, I go into some major fear. Okay, so the idea with conspiracy is that, I'm going to give you the visionary perspective on it. When we decided as a collective to go through separation and duality, we needed to make ourselves unconscious. And we assigned certain gatekeepers, I'll call them gatekeepers, the right to keep us unconscious. The ability to keep us in our unconsciousness. So these gatekeepers, they're just doing their job. The problem is they don't realize the gig is up. And some of them do know the gig is up. 2012 was the marker. The gig is up. Unconsciousness has to stop. The problem is they didn't want to stop because they're basically the richest global elites of the world. They control the oil. They call themselves God. They control the gold and the silver, the oil, and the diamonds. They control the school systems, I'm sorry to say. They control everything that's taught through the school systems. They control the medical institutions. So all those forced immunizations and all the pharmaceutical drugs, basically those shut people down. They control the media. That's the big one. For years, my friends and my angelic, my team of angels and my non-physical beings, they call me a divine brat. I'm not one of the only ones. Lots of divine brats out there. We stomp our feet along. We're like, what is this? Change this now. It's supposed to be think it, blink it, it's done. It's supposed to be that easy, guys. Really, think it, blink it, it's done. It's supposed to be that way. Of course, it's not like that on planet Earth, really. The video games, yeah. But the idea is that, because I used to fight a lot and be like, why can't you just source? Can't you get us into the media? If we could just get in the media, we could get on 24/7 on the media and tell people, re-educate people. Anyway, they control the media. You know, that was started by, well, maybe not started entirely, but certainly done by Hitler. That's how he convinced people to go into World War II. He used screens in the squares, got everybody into the square, showed them pictures of deluded people and said, we have to round these people up because we have to make our race pure and get these people are dangerous. Yeah, let's round them up. He lied to them. Called them Jews. Crazy, right? But that's what's happening on planet Earth. They just put a TV in your box, a box in your living room, and you sit there and you're in your alpha brainwave and you're like, yes, President Bush really cares. So it's kind of funny because any astrologer who's ever looked at their charts can tell you everything about these people. And I'm not talking politics, because the Democrats are in bed with the Republicans. They're on the same side. There's no team here. It's not like you're getting something different with them and different with them. They all meet in secret groups. You've heard of secret societies? All right, so they control the water, of course. That's why they put the fluoride in. And by the way, that was discovered during World War II as well, right? Maybe not discovered, but Hitler used to use fluoride on the death camp prisoners because it makes people, what does it do? It makes you stupid, it makes you docile, it makes you dumb. Shuts down your master plans. It's a toxic, it's a neurotoxin. Those little sweet mo packets, those companies are owned by Dick Cheney and Donald, Rumsfeld, right. Isn't that his last name, Donald Rumsfeld? Yeah. That's his last name, right? Yeah. So those little pink packets are designed to shut down your brain function. And they suppress the studies. So yes, it's the water, the genetically modified food. They own the food supply, they own the water supply, they own the gas and the oil. Basically, if it's a big thing, they own it, right? Medical institutions, forced immunizations is basically those immunizations.
Hollywood.
What's that?
Hollywood.
Yeah, they mostly own Hollywood. Although Hollywood, amazingly, who saw the movie The Matrix? That's basically what it is. That's what human civilization are the ones who basically, I don't remember which one was the red pill and which one's the blue pill. Which one's the truth pill?
Red.
The red, I took the red pill.
We all took the red pill.
Yeah, if you're in this room, chances are you want the red pill, even if this is new information for some of you.
Take the red pill.
The idea is, but most people do have, and on planet Earth, prior to 2012, I'm sorry to say, we were all under the influence, mostly anyway, under the blue pill. We were just walking around kind of believing that was life. We believe that our physical body issues are because we had a car accident in 2012 or 2013. Oh, I had an accident in 2000, and now my back still hurts. Or, oh, my mother had diabetes, and it runs in my family, so therefore, I might get it. Or, oh, my great-grandfather has this. We're victims of our reality, something outside of us, right? That's all the blue pill, that's the matrix, and Hollywood basically fills us up with a lot of lies. But they also really do let the truth come out, if you're willing to find the truth in there. So anyway, all right, so that's the whole conspiracy thing, but the thing to understand is that not only is it collapsing, I mean, the money system is a slave system. It's a way that keeps us in slavery. The birth control, your birth certificate is your slave number, effectively. Who's seen the movie Zeitgeist? That's a good one to watch. It's a little upsetting. It's an older
Social
one.
security number?
What's that?
Social security?
Social security number.
Yeah.
It's your slave number.
Slave number.
And of course the royalty is in this, the British Crown, all the royalty, all the world governments are in this, and I'm sorry to say, all the world religions. They really are. And while there's well-meaning and there's a lot of good stuff in the world religions, there is good stuff in there, because there's a law of polarity, which is one of the laws I didn't mention. So in order for the dark to survive, these are very dark beings. In order for the dark to survive, it cannot exist. If it was just blackness, it can't exist. It needs the light. It feeds off the light. Understand? So there is a lot of good in religion. It's just that it's basically manipulated. And it's really done quite a job on us. Now, in our unconscious, we've got just loads of programming that's telling us things that we're not even aware of, that we're cleaning out through the process of healing and resolving. And some of these major, I call them programs, this is some of what we'll clear today when we get to the third section tonight, stuff like victim-victimizer, slave driver, different archetypes, sexual misery programs. Sexual misery programs are basically what are designed to make people ashamed of their body, in sexual misery, addicted to pornography, slave trade through sexual trade, sexual slave trades, you got that going on all over the world. The sexual misery programs are perpetrated by, and I hope I don't offend anyone here, but just even in the Jewish religion, when they take a little baby and they circumcise from infancy. He has, in the most sensitive area of his entire body, goes through a major trauma. And that gets embedded into the unconscious. So there's all these programs, and they're basically part of what have been designed to separate us from source. We did it to ourselves, of course. But there are people who are gatekeepers. It goes beyond this planet, because there are malevolent ETs too. Malevolent ETs who have been, I'm just asking if we should go into this whole story. Okay, you know what, if you guys want to know about the whole ET thing, we can go into that.
Yes.
But why don't I fulfill my promise and give you guys need a break, or you want me to keep going? No break. Okay. All right, how are we doing with videoing there?
We're good.
Okay. All right, let me just take some water. It's fun stuff, right? All right, so really when I get to the energy work, you guys will want to make sure we have a good... Okay, I'm still good with that. Plenty of time for that. All right, so we'll go to you want to hear about the ET stuff? Yeah. Okay.
Spheres.
What's that?
The spheres.
The spears?
Spheres.
Spheres.
Yeah. That's one.
Okay. Oh, I did forget to say something really important about the whole ascension thing. Beyond the dimensions. Okay, so we understand the first, I'm going to come back to that. We understand the first dimensions that we're talking, the first three dimensions, the fourth and the fifth, right? So dimensions also have a physical aspect in the perspective of universes, right? So we're in this universe, and the galaxy we supposedly live in is the Milky Way, right? But within this universe, which really, when you're talking about energy and frequency and vibration, everything is just interwoven and intermixing, but we're vibrating at a certain, just like a radio station, right, or a TV station, we're vibrating as a collective in a certain reality where we call this Earth, and within this reality of Earth, certain things happen. We have walls, and we have computers, and we're humans, and we look like this, and this is our reality. But there's an infinite number of realities, and they're dimensions in a sense, even though they all exist within this, because the dimensions and everything I'm telling you about exist within our universe, right? But these other things can exist outside of our universe. These are dimensions of existence that are also functioning on this concept of vibration and frequency. And the idea here is they're all happening simultaneously. So the way, this is addressing the time factor, right? So the way that we think of life and existence is of linear time. Yesterday, today, tomorrow. Past, future, right? But these other dimensions of reality, other universes, other realities, let's call them, so I should say, call them other realities, they exist right now too. And they're all what we call parallel realities. Who believes in past lives?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, but in truth, there are no past lives. Why are there no past lives?
Because
They're all
time is
happening.
irrelevant,
That's
because
right.
everything happens at the same time.
Because everything's right now. This is the idea of the Big Bang. The Big Bang is that everything was created all at once. And everything that ever was created and ever will be created was all created all at once. Always existed, always has existed, and always will exist. And they're all existing right now in some kind of frequency, vibration. You could call it a dimension, even though it's not the same thing as the dimensions as how we're referring to them. So it's just in reality, certain realities. Does this make sense? And so we're walking around thinking, oh, this step I'm going to take, this step, and as I move my leg, I'm going to keep moving in this way. We're thinking, we're just moving. This is a progression from this moment to the next moment. But in reality, all it is this. Because nothing is really moving. This is the mind-blowing, really freaky-deaky thing about this reality as we start to understand. So the idea is, who's ever seen those still frames in movies? Or those books where you flip the book and the pages, you flip the pages and it shows you like movement after you flip. That's really what it is. Every page is a still page. But as you move from one screen to the next, you're suddenly in a new reality. Does this make sense?
Yeah.
It's pretty mind-blowing. So the idea here is, if you can understand, is that you still think it's true, you're still yours, even though you're no longer a hunchback. Is this making sense? So when you're carrying around pain and trauma and drama, and you don't know why is this person pissing you off, or why did this thing happen, it's because in some reality you carried that vibration, it got stuck into that unconscious mind, and here you are in this lifetime thinking it was a past lifetime, but it's going on right now. So here's the beauty of when we do really good healing, which I hope we will do tonight, we can clear all that stuff. You can clear things through all dimensions of time and space, through all realities. You don't have to carry that anymore, because the whole purpose of Ascension is to get you over here as fast as you can. So Source is like literally saying, let's get it out, get it out, get it out. Like when I've been doing healing through my life, healing for people, my whole thing for all of my healing, and I've been doing healing for a long time for people, I would go outside of like the sessions and I'd be like, Source, consciousness, creator, this is not fair. These people are carrying, we are carrying lifetimes of crap. You were burned at the stake somewhere. Any psychic in the room? Any real psychics? Anyone present? You were burned at the stake at some lifetime. That's why people are so afraid. Maybe you weren't necessarily, but a lot of psychics were, or beheaded. Maybe you were beheaded in some lifetime.
And I'm still choosing to be who I am now.
Yes.
And I see that, like, Melissa and I are very close with money. It's the same thing. It's like, okay, we just choose again.
Yeah.
Choose again. And with consistency, and almost like, for me, it's like being a spiritual warrior.
Yes.
Saying, this is not me. I'm not this disease. With love and compassion,
Right.
you can break through anything
Yes.
over time, even though there is no
Yes.
time.
Right.
Right?
It's not about time, it's about vibration. The vibration changes slowly.
Yeah.
Because it's not like you, typically speaking, you can't go from 0 to 80 in 2 seconds. You have to go from 0 to 10 to 20 to 30, and then before you know it, you're at 80, and you're like, wow, I don't have that tooth issue anymore.
Yeah. And then it speeds up.
Yeah.
It's like years. I've 18 years I've been healing.
Yes.
And then something shifted where it's like, it's just speeded up now. It's like, okay, there's a thing. And,
Yes. That's
It's
awesome.
happening. Right?
Yes. When we get to the healing part, I want you to bring that up. And wait, can I just say one other thing? I want to give you guys all a really great tool that most humans have no idea about. And if you start using this with disease or whatever in your life, it's called asking questions. So humans are not taught to ask questions. You're not allowed to ask questions. Even in school, you don't get to ask questions unless you raise your hand. You're not allowed to ask questions. The whole military is based on don't ever question. Remember that movie with Tom Cruise? The cadets?
Top Gun.
No, not Top Gun.
Few good men.
Few good men, because they did not question their superior officers. Because they were taught not to question their superior officers. We are taught not to question anything. So the tool of asking questions, and I'm going to give you some of the best questions you can ever ask. So here's a question you want to always ask. This, whatever's going on, you're going to the vet, you're going to the doctor, you're going to the bank, you're going to whatever. The question is, what is the best possible scenario that could possibly happen for me right now? What is the best possible circumstance? You can also ask, what's the highest and best possibility? It's so simple. The universe is responding. Remember, you ask a question, what's the law of cause and effect? You ask a question, the cause and effect law dictates. Dictates. Absolute, cannot be broken. You ask a question, an answer will be given. Isn't that amazing? I have healed people so amazingly. It's not me. Like my father. Oh, I haven't forgotten the ET thing. My father, he was here in Florida for 3 months over the winter, and he was on the tennis courts, 80 years of age, and he didn't sprain his ankle. He got on the tennis court, he hurt himself. And he went to the doctor local here, and the doctor was like, you're gonna need surgery. It's bad. You broke everything. You sprained everything. Things ripped in there. Okay, so, and he goes to another doctor here for a second opinion. Same thing. Because my father, you don't understand, he's still functioning from fear. Oh God, what did I do? He went right into his fear. He created fear. Oh my God, what's going to happen? He goes to the doctor, second opinion, you're going to need surgery. He kept walking around, this is serious, Lori, this is serious. Your stuff's not going to work. I really love it when I get to prove my dad wrong. So the third one, not that I'm attached to being right, I think I let go of that a long time ago. Anyway, the third one was, the surgeon again said you're going to have to need surgery. So I say, okay, right before you go to New York to get the surgery and the pre-op from Europe, he wanted to go to his favorite guy in New York, which is where he lives year-round. I was like, give me 45 minutes. 45 minutes, that's all I ask. I do healing, 45 minutes, I give him the one tool. Ask, before you go, just ask what's the best possibility, what's the highest and best possibility for me that could possibly happen. I got him to buy into that at least. So of course he did. He got 45-minute healing. He gets to the doctor in New York. The doctor says, who are these surgeons? You don't need anything. Just stay off and in a booth for a couple of weeks. You'll be fine jogging again in a few weeks. And how does that happen? Is it the healing? Yes, okay, yes, it was some healing. I heard there's some belief system. What is it?
Your mind.
It was a question. He asked the right question of the universe. But you know what else it was? Think about dimensions. In one dimension, he had to get surgery. I lined him up with another dimension, another outcome. You understand? This is why this dimensions concept is so important. Because all things exist, all things always have existed. So you want to go down the road where you have breast cancer, you have this problem, you have that problem, it's available to you because the universe is always saying yes. Source creator God is you. You're the creator of your reality. So that's your fear, and that's your worry, and that's your doubt, and that's where your energy is leading, and that's where your vibration is taking you. That's where you're going. But if you're like, okay, I know all things are possible, I don't know what is possible, what's the very best possibility for me? What's the high, and always with harm to none. Goes without saying, with harm to none, right? When there's a collective involved, what's the highest and best for the whole group? What's the highest and best possibility for everyone involved? Make sense?
Yes.
I just want to say real quick that the whole dimension thing always kind of like really got me. Like I just couldn't figure it out. But I decided about a year ago that I was just going to play with it and just pretend that it's possible that this could happen.
Yes.
And so I tried out on really simple things. Like one day I was in really bad traffic. I had to get somewhere. I'm like, I know that there's another dimension where there's no traffic. And
Yes.
within 5 minutes, the whole traffic cleared up.
Yes.
Same thing, you know, with raining on a day when you
I
had
know
a major
today.
event outside. I know there's a dimension where there's no rain right now.
Yes.
You know, you just like so little things like that. If you practice like that, you'll start to really understand that this whole dimensional thing is
Yes.
really.
It's fun. It's fun to play with when you start to realize what's available to you. Especially when you realize, oh, you're not having the experience. Now, what would the vibration of what I do want be? What does that vibration feel like? How can I emulate, match, and be in harmony with that vibration? Yeah? And who knows what, you know, Esther and Jerry Hicks, law of attraction, right? That's basically what they're teaching. Yeah.
Is there a first and a second dimension? Why do we start with third?
Your first and second are sound and light. Yeah. Okay. You guys want to hear about the ETs and how I
Yes.
have time here? Okay. say is definitely gonna be way whacked if you've never heard this stuff. So far out there.
all the other stuff to tell me.
Wait a second, you think all that stuff is whack? See, to me, that's like, this is so funny. This is my everyday reality, so I don't really think it's whack, but the ET stuff is pretty whack. So, have an open mind. If you don't already, I mean, if you're sitting here, I'm sure you do. Is anyone thinking it's all really whacked already? Anybody?
No.
No? Okay, good.
Pretty normal.
All right, so here's the ET thing. Oh gosh, what is that dude's name? I want to mention his name. He's so good. He's from South Africa. Does anyone know this guy teaches?
Credo Mutwa.
What's that?
Credo Mutwa.
No, no, that's not a very interesting person. I don't know who that is. Let's see if I can find his name. This is why I lost my connection here. Okay, well, he's from South Africa, and he's been running for president, and he's really like an archaeologist. He's such an incredible guy, and he teaches about the Ubuntu movement. If you know what that is, I don't know. But Ubuntu is where you just basically remove the money system and you just do your service. This is the future that I want to live in. You just do your service, you do what you love, and you know that everybody's doing their service when they want to do it, and then you need a service, you go, hey, you're doing healing? Oh, hey, you got some beautiful fruit? Okay, and you know you need some fruit from, and you go get your fruit, well, you need your fruit. You have watermelons, and you have zucchini, and you have, everybody just does what they love and just knows and lives in abundance. Because the funny thing about the reality we live in is it's based in lack. But the universe is abundant. It's even abundant in lack, if that's what you want. I mean, it's abundant. It's an infinite abundance. It is infinite. Source is infinite. Infinite everything. It's whatever you want. It's just a matter of lining up vibrationally. Okay. So anyway, this guy, I'm forgetting his name, he's so good, I follow him all the time. I wonder if I can find him on my computer here really quick. Anyway, he teaches about, he's studied in South Africa, the ancient ruins. And they're basically, I can't believe I'm forgetting his name because I just love him so much, but anyhow, all right, let me get over that. He's studying the ancient ruins of South Africa, and essentially, he's talking about the origins of humanity. Now let me just, since I can't teach his lecture, and I can't even remember his name at the moment, because for some reason it always slips my mind. The idea here is that human beings, we've been fed a bill of goods about our true history, because of course the school systems are rigged, and all the history books were basically rewritten. They were basically, the Bible was all messed up with all the religious texts and documents. The main original religious text, or religious is the wrong word, the origins of human can be found in something called the Book of Enoch. Do you know what the Book of Enoch is? Okay. So this is really the history of humanity. And by the way, I forgot to mention the Akashic Records here, because how many Akashic Records practitioners are there in here? Okay, oh, cool. So your DNA is your Akashic Records too. You get that? Your Akashic Records are the records of your existence. The collective of the Akashic Records. Who doesn't know what the Akashic Records are? It's okay if you don't. Okay, now I'm taking another detour, side tour on the Akashic Records, but I'll come back to the ETs. So the Akashic Records are basically another frequency, vibration, where all information about everything that has ever existed and will ever exist is stored, so that humanity can access it, right? So you can find out anything through the Akashic Records, about the birth of humanity, about the future, the potential futures, about your life, about your past lives, about your animal's life, your sacred contracts. And it's not just information, like every thought that was ever thought is stored in the records. Every emotion that was ever felt is stored in the records. Every thing that has ever and will ever exist is in the records. And it's like a card catalog, right? Only it's not actually a card catalog. It's frequencies of vibrations of energy that you can access if you can attune to them. You can get this information and you can get healing, whatever healing you need, whatever energy, whatever you need. But But you're unique, as a unique individualized soul, your records are within your DNA. So as you activate your DNA, you have access to your own records. Amazing. All right, so why did I get detoured on the records? Because the records have this information, if you know how to look. It's like a card catalog, because if you don't know what you're looking for, you don't always know that it's there to access it. But this is a lot of how I found out about this stuff, in addition to, you know, like that person I was mentioning, whose name I was spacing on. Okay, so humanity was actually planted here as a slave race for extraterrestrials who wanted to mine the gold from the planet. So there was gold and natural metals and resources. And the way they did this was they bred humans, they created humans using their DNA. But what happened was when they first started, and these were two brothers, Inky and Enoch. Inky and,
Yeah.
what's the other one's name?
Yeah.
No, I think it's Enoch is his brother.
Enoch, yeah, the nigga with the giants.
Is it, anyway, almost doesn't matter. This is not my specialty, you know, this is why I don't propose to be an expert in this. I just can translate it so it helps people understand. These two brothers who are from Nibiru, who's ever heard of Nibiru? Planet Nibiru? Supposedly Planet X, gonna come and demolish Earth. Fear, that's all fear. Bullshit, not gonna happen. So anyway, these two guys, they basically bred humans to create slave race. But this created a whole huff in the whole galaxy. Because the other beings were like, you can't create living beings and just use them for slaves. That's inhumane. So all the galaxy, different tribal, you know, you can call them tribal, star beings from different planets came together and said, okay, let's make an agreement. Let's make it a good, positive thing. And we'll all contribute our DNA from all different star races. We'll contribute our DNA into this human. You can use the human for a while, and at some point the experiment is up. You cannot keep them as slave or in separation. And at that time, we want to be able to activate all their DNA for them, and we want to give them all the gifts that we have. So there were so-called benevolent and malevolent ETs, right? The malevolent ETs, does anyone know any of their names? Reptilians, Draconians. Greys are just, actually Greys are kind of extinct now, right? They had no feeling, they had no discernment, they were just basically uncaring, kind of like, they're the ones you see the most frequently, like with the big heads and big eyes.
Greys.
Yeah, they don't really, they're kind of extinct now, because you had to have compassion. That's why they were taking so many abductions from humans, because they needed our compassion to survive. So now they're a hybrid race. But anyway, those are like your malevolents, right? Draconians, reptilians. I've never met any of them. I don't really know them personally, so I just know this from accessing the records and stuff. Then you have all your benevolents. Who are the benevolents? Anyone know? Palladians, Syrians, Arcturians, Elohim. Okay, the Elohim were considered the god race. So these guys all gave us our DNA too, but their DNA exists beyond the first two strands. You understand, the malevolent ones were in the first two strands, and they basically feed on anger, upset, fear, worry, doubt, frustration, ignorance, blame, shame, victimization, yeah. And all that stuff's in your first two DNA. That's what humanity's been experiencing. So these malevolent beings have basically controlled the planet, and they basically gave power to those global elites that refer to themselves as God, who are basically in secret societies, thinking that they're basically ruling the world, keeping separation. And they really do feed off, it's hard to believe this, that malevolent ETs would feed off the energy of pain and suffering. But that's what they did. So the reason this archaeologist, I'm calling him an archaeologist, from the South Africa is so important is that he's taken aerial pictures, or he's cross-referenced aerial pictures of the Earth, and basically what he's saying is they've been levitating all this energy of pain and suffering off the Earth, in addition to the gold and the silver that they mined and whatever else they mined off the Earth. And they levitate all this dense, heavy energy, and they use what? Big pyramid-like structures that basically levitate the energy. And they use like big towers with like bells, vibrations. You see where I'm going with this, right? pointy, that escalate and levitate the energy, and that they pull this energy of pain and suffering, and that's basically what these malevolent ETs feed off of. Okay, you can think it's crazy if you want, it's all good. But the benevolent ETs, as of 2012, bless you, now suddenly the old reality was no longer allowed. 2012 was the deadline. The malevolence could no longer be in charge. That was the agreement. And now the benevolence started coming in. And so now you have a lot of, this is why so many starseeds started to get activated right before, the years before 2012, which is when I really came online. Because prior to my brother dying and what happened in Maui, I had no idea this was my mission. I was clueless. I was just going through everything else that all humans are going through. So now these benevolent ETs are here, and they're basically, oh yeah, we'll talk about that. Bringing in this energy, this high vibration frequency energy, which you can now tune into very easily. It's so beautiful. And this is expanding the consciousness of planet Earth, and they're helping to awaken our dormant DNA. So all these malevolents are basically gone now. Their deadline was 2012 to get out of here. And they basically were given an extension. So the extension that they were given was, okay, since you didn't choose to leave, vacate this galaxy, this reality by 2012, and give their sovereignty back. There's so much stuff I can give you forever, like I could go on. Since they didn't leave, we gave them an extension. You know what the extension was until? Yeah, the end of this year. Oh, yeah. So all malevolent beings have to be out by the end of 2012. By the way, okay, let me just say, this is what I was going to give you too. As long as you filled out your name and your email address, I will send you a meditation I did last week called Take Back Our Planet.
It is awesome.
Oh, good.
I have listened to it 4 times.
Oh, awesome. It's just a meditation to get the malevolent beings out. And it's really beautiful because it's about clearing whatever's in you that you don't need anymore. That's malevolent. So, what's that? Yeah, but you have to match the frequency of energy. See, if you're doing that, resistance reaction, what does resistance reaction do? Yeah, entanglement, entwine, you get entwined in it. Now you're in there, caught in their web. So you have to, this is part of what I teach in my classes, like my psychic intuitive development class. I teach about getting into the sacred neutral. Because in neutral, you have power. You see, the law of free will dictates your free will be honored, but not if you're resisting, reacting, entangled with it. Get out of here, I hate you, I don't. Now you're playing with it. You're engaged with it, so you've just created more of it. Who wants to help animals on the planet? Good. If you want to help animals, stop feeling sorry for them. Stop being entangled with pain. It's really hard to do. You've got to get in that sacred neutral, where you're in this vibration of love, and now you have real power. Because now you start saying, I intend, I create a reality where all animals and all humans are treated with compassion and kindness. Like you can start exerting your free will from this place and it's honored. Okay, let me give you something else that was just given to me. With respect to everything going on, the name of the game of Ascension right now, aside from coming into this love, right, is claiming your sovereignty. It's liberating yourself from this trap of the matrix, right? How do you do that? Aside from all the healing and the clearing. No, what you do is you just start owning your power. It's so easy. It's so much easier than we realize. You start saying, I am the owner of this vessel and this vehicle. I am the owner of this body known as Lori Ann Spagna. I now liberate myself. I am sovereign. I claim my sovereignty now. Yes. I claim my sovereignty now. I liberate myself. If you start saying that, and here's the most amazing thing, you can liberate yourself from disease.
Incredible.
Yes, I liberate myself from this disease. I liberate myself from the entanglement of this relationship. Doesn't mean you have to stop. It just means you're freeing yourself. You're liberating yourself from the density. I liberate myself. Okay, is it going to remove something that you've carried for 50 years? Maybe not, but it's going to start. It's the process. Understand, again, that whole idea, you don't go from 0 to 80 in 2 minutes. But the idea is claiming your sovereignty and liberating yourself is going to free you up from so much stuff that you've been carrying around that's dense or heavy or unpleasant, especially like just liberating yourself from the the things that you think you have to do, the obligations. Now, I'm not telling you to suddenly become irresponsible in ways that are going to cause harm to yourself or another. But I am saying, what happens when you feel like you have to do something that you don't want to do? You have to do something, and it's not really serving anyone. You have to work through some issue. You just start liberating yourself. Claim your sovereignty. Claim your sovereignty from separation. Claim your sovereignty over your sleep time. Anyone have nightmares? Bad dreams?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, so that's a really good way that these dark forces interfere with people. Who knows what these cell phone towers are doing? The cell phone towers are radiating, vibrating energy from them, frequencies, and those frequencies of energies get into you when your brain is in a delta or an alpha state. And those frequencies of energies might say things like, say yes to war. You belong in a death camp. Go fight. You know, vote for this candidate. It's very, very not nice stuff. And they're using the cell phone towers to brainwash people. You can look this up. It's called TAMI, T-A-M-I, it's mind interference. It's also something called HARP. Do you guys know what HARP is?
There's also voice of God technology, but that's a little different.
Oh, but I think isn't it a similar kind of thing?
Yeah,
Yeah, so same concept. HARP is where they're messing with the weather control devices, and TAMI is part of HARP where they're using it for mind control. And they're doing it all the time, you know, like major centers and things. But when you start liberating yourself and claiming sovereignty, you become a lot less affected by that stuff.
And nanotechnology?
Nanotechnology, yeah, I mean, all those forced immunizations, forced microwave chips, all that stuff. It's just, and this whole idea of who goes through the airports and does this? Please stop doing it. Those people that tell you it's okay, because they've been brainwashed too, right? Those TSA people, they really believe it's safe. They don't know, they've been brainwashed. It is not safe. You're going through this, your whole system is going through major shock. You're being invaded energetically, and your system gets shut down. It's the worst kind of...
How can you not do it?
I want a pat down, please. And then when they pat you down and you're sitting there, you tell them, this is my body, you go gentle, you be polite, you be respectful, you be honorable. And they'll say, I always do, I'm just following protocol. And you just keep saying, and even in your mind, when I go through those, I'll say, I go straight to source. And I'll be like, source, I'm using my free will. I no longer agree or consent to this. I don't allow it. It's against my free will. I do it in sacred neutral. In the sacred neutral. Because if I'm fighting, resisting, reacting, I've played with this enough times. When I'm fighting, resisting, reacting, someone's jamming their hand up here so hard, it's like, you know, but when I'm like in the sacred neutral, the person's like, oh, you know, just go. See? And you can clear contracts with it too. You start saying, whatever contracts exist, however I created this, whatever contracts I agreed to, I don't agree to it anymore. Just letting you know, just putting it out there. Because every thought is honored. And the reason this process of ascension is taking time is because all of humanity gets the chance to wake up. Make sense? Okay, I kind of went in a lot of directions there. Do I have any questions? Do you guys want to ask any questions before we take up? I feel like I could go on forever.
1,000 points of light.
What's that?
Have you heard anything about the 1,000 points of light, the erecting of towers of bridges in Paris? I guess I don't know, like all over the world.
Oh, I don't know about that.
Okay.
No.
There was like little stargates.
Oh, yeah, well, okay, so, that's a whole other conversation. There's stargates all over the planet. So what used to happen when people would cross over, pass away, you'd get trapped within the matrix because there was a field around the planet, a field of energy. They basically blocked off all the stargates. You couldn't get in or out. This is why there's so many souls alive right now, because these are the people who have been trapped in purgatory, and they basically wanted to get born during this time, because now what many starseeds and light workers and gatekeepers and way showers have done is we've worked to open up these stargates so that now beings can cross through, and you don't just get forced right back in to relive, be trapped in this third dimensional reality of separation. So these stargates are being opened more and more. Does that make sense? I don't know if that's exactly what you were referring to, but...
There was just a conspiracy where they say this wasn't going to happen, and then they turned the name into some other name, and then they did it anyway, and they're letting, I guess, a lot of malevolent souls back in all over.
No, don't believe that.
Okay.
Listen to me. Whenever you're told something, even from me, just ask, who says? challenging. But, you know, ask. I'm just bringing the pieces of the puzzle that I have, because this whole ascension is like a big puzzle. We can't see the whole puzzle piece, the whole puzzle put together yet. But different star seeds and light workers and healers and intuitives are putting different pieces together, and so that eventually we'll see the whole picture. And so if you can just ask in your mind, if someone tells you, first of all, if it's something that's malevolent or something failed, it's impossible. Ascension is a guarantee. The future of Earth is a playground where all get to start experiencing the divine in and through together. It's a spiritual, metaphysical playground that is guaranteed. It is written in. I don't care what anyone says. My best friends sometimes are like, I didn't know. I'll be like, I know. It is written in. And when someone's giving you something that creates fear, or that's why I don't always like to talk about the ET stuff. It's just I try to talk about it like it's part of the history, because we're going to start knowing it anyway. But the idea is there's nothing to be afraid of, because our job is just to come into our oneness, to clear all the fear and the density. So if you can just ask, like, well, who says, or another good question is, well, what's the highest truth on this? What's the highest truth? I mean, the truth is there's no ultimate truth. There's no ultimate truth. Every perspective is true, because every perspective is a creator perspective, and every dimension of reality exists. Which dimension do you want to be part of? Do you want to be part of the reality that the world is going to hell in the handbasket, and it's going to be, a government tyranny, government controlled, where you basically have cameras looking on you everywhere, and every person's turning into a robot? Is that a reality you want to create? Because if you want to buy into it, there might be a timeline where that really happens. I don't give any energy to that, because I absolutely know that there is a reality, and it's the biggest reality, where all of humanity awakens to our divine God selves, where we get to be free, truly free, liberated, free to play, free to enjoy our bodies, our consciousness, our friends, our loved ones. We get to connect and enjoy with Source and all the gifts that Source has available. And that timeline is the biggest timeline out there. I'll just say one last thing about Ascension, then we'll take a break and we'll do the healing. Right now, what you have is what's called the Ascension timelines. And this Ascension timeline is like a window of linear time. And it really started to peak. It started in the 60s, mid-60s. That's what that whole age of the Aquarius is, and the 60s, and John Lennon, right? He was one of the original 144, John Lennon. Why did they kill him? Also, Martin Luther King, one of the original 144. Gandhi, one of the original 144. So you had this stuff going on in the mid-60s, but they suppressed it, right? Because prior to 2012, these malevolent forces were able to do whatever they wanted to do. So they knocked it out. Then what was 9/11? That was a way to create so much. It was a deliberate, 9/11 was on purpose, right? It was done by the United States government to create fear and anxiety. Because the day after 9/11, everyone was walking past the airport saying, no problem, take everything. I give you, no problem, I thank you. That's what we were doing. We gave away our power. So anyway, all of this stuff was happening because they knew that 2012 was their end of game. Even the economic crash of 2008 was deliberately designed to create fear and panic and worry and put people in such a lower vibrational state that they couldn't get up through the dimensions to 5D. So all of this has been going on since the mid-60s. They escalated all their attempts between 2009 and 2011. They couldn't break the 2012 barrier. Their desire, the malevolent beings, their desire was to have every person robotized, forced immunization, forced microchipped, forced slave labor, everything. That was their desire, right? They failed. They failed. All of those viruses, pig flu, and this virus, that, that's all created, right? It's all created, manufactured to keep people in fear and separation. And that's part of what these immunizations are, because they're injecting you with half that stuff. So prior to 2012, they were able to pull all that stuff up. That was part of the Ascension timeline, though, because The purpose of all this shadow stuff coming up was so that humanity could become aware of it and say, wow, this isn't what we're choosing anymore. This isn't what we want. Because we had to have a choice, because there is a law of free will. It's part of this law of one. So only with people becoming aware, like you guys know about chemtrails? That's another thing they're doing, right? They're dropping those chemicals down from the sky because the idea is it shuts down your DNA. All those toxic chemicals. But now, after 2012, they have no more power. This is why you're seeing the global elites of the past. This is why the oil prices are now going down. They can't keep pulling what they used to pull. They're still trying to engage in oil wars, but it's really not working. Make sense?
Do you think they'll be sharing any ancient technologies like the
Oh yes,
Vatican
that's
and
all
stuff?
going to come through. A lot of it's starting to come through the Roman Catholic Church, because the Roman Catholic Church has all these secrets. They've been keeping them. I mean, they're one of the, I'm sorry, I don't mean to poo-poo on religion, but they're really one of the most evil. They're pretty much up there as the worst evil. So this Pope that we have right now is actually, this is really going beyond there, but he's kind of the front man. He's not an official Pope. He doesn't even live in the Vatican. He's the first Pope to not live in the Vatican. Why? Because he's a middle guy. He's trying to help them to not collapse, because he knows that you can't just go against them because they have all the ultimate power. And at the same time, they know their gig is up. They know. So he's got to sort of start to disseminate this information to the masses. Oh, now suddenly it's okay, gay marriage is okay. These are examples of it. So, but the point that I'm making on the Ascension timelines is 2012 was their end of game. We gave them an extension out of compassion to try to get these dark beings, malevolent beings. This is why Jeb Bush dropped out too, you understand? Why did Jeb Bush drop out of the race? What's that?
Didn't have a chance.
Because he knew this SHIT is going to hit the fan. I have a prediction that Hillary, by the end of this year, is either going to be arrested or get very sick and potentially die. And I'm not wishing harm on her, but she's in that. They've got to go. They can no longer have power. So they're part of the old regime. They're just not the new leaders. There will be new, more benevolent leaders emerging. Anyway, so what have you got? So you've got these Ascension timelines where all these things are happening, and people are getting a choice and saying, okay, what's my choice for my future? And what's happening is at the end of this year, this is a whole other topic, I have a whole course on this too, but at the end of this year, it's called the separation of worlds, these densities drop out. The bulk of malevolence will be gone from our planet by the end of this year. It's a 9-year in sacred numerology. In fact, September 9 is a 999. That's endings. 9 means endings, completions. These malevolent beings drop out. This is pretty big, right? But you see it's happening already. It's already starting. And then what happens is all of a sudden, there's not going to be any more of this dense, heavy energy blasting on people. So there's going to be this almost like immediate lightness. And people are going to start being like, wow, I feel so much better. And that's going to just trigger a cascade of awakening. You see? Because there's no more oppression and repression going on. Yes, okay, it could bleed into the next few years a little bit, because it's not like, it's only the truly malevolent beings that are basically going to be removed. And what we call that is dying a second death. Because they're just basically going to be usurped back into the greater God. Soul dies. Make sense? Yeah.
I don't know if you want to get into this, but I've been thinking about, so what is death then? We kind of started to talk about it, but if we can heal ourselves of everything, then are we just going to stay in this dimension, you know?
Well, death is a choice. Once you get into 5D, death is a choice. Death becomes a choice, so does illness, but you won't really choose that. You might choose to finish out with your body, say you want to drop the body and have a whole new experience. What else is out there? We don't even know. We don't even know. We don't know what else is possible. But there's no death, because this body is just frequencies of energy. The consciousness that's running the body never dies. Consciousness never dies.
That's what I mean, is because if we're healing ourselves, then our reality now is going to change. I mean, we're going to leave this reality at some point. So that's, I guess, my question is.
Okay,
How does that
if
happen?
you buy into the belief system of death, there are plenty of people living out in the Himalayan mountains who are 500, 600, 700 years old.
Really?
When I say plenty, I mean, what do I mean, plenty? I'm exaggerating. But it's well documented. It's documented documented on the internet.
You wrote that part.
They're living out in the mountains, and one of my teachers, he has physically documented, has died 4 times. One time he woke up in the morgue in a freezer banging on the freezer box, get me out of here. I mean, it's documented. So, because he's working with energy and consciousness, he lived in the Himalayan mountains for so long, so he was learning, he was practicing this for a lifetime. So anyway, you know,
So
what
we
is,
can think ourselves to live that long, and then.
well, I don't think you can just think it. You see, this is the whole thing, it's back to that vibration. You have to understand.
No, but you said it starts with your thinking.
It starts with awareness.
Okay, your awareness.
Right.
And so you choose, I'm choosing this, I'm choosing this. So essentially what you're saying is we can choose that reality.
You can choose it, but you have to make sure the whole unconscious is cleared. And there's all kinds of death programs running in the unconscious of the human. We have death programs. And the whole thing too is, I mean, if it's fear motivating you not to die, the fear is part of what has to go anyway. Because once you clear out the fear of death, you're just like, oh, maybe it might be nice to be dead. It might be nice to be in that in-between world. I kind of would like to know what it's like when I'm ready. I'm not ready now, but it doesn't seem like the worst thing to me. I'm pretty cool. I could get right up to the front of the line of, you know, of the love and light, you know. There's lots of exciting things in the non-physical. Just humans are carrying around so much fear in our unconscious about death. But you don't really die. This is one of the downloads we do, and I really do want to give you guys a break so we can do the healing now. But this is one of the downloads we do. So let me just tell you what we're going to do with the healing, and then let's take a break. So I want to get a seat too and get some more water. So what we're going to do is I'm going to lead you in a meditation. We're going to access the theta brainwave. Who has not accessed the theta brainwave? No, almost none of you, right? Okay, you're going to love it. You might fall asleep, it's okay, but hopefully you won't. So make sure you get yourself like moving around and awake. And then what we'll do is we'll first tap into source consciousness. It usually will guide me on what it wants to do. And then there'll be a point where I ask you, what's going on with you that you might want healing on? And you bring up any topic. Back pain, liver issues, diabetes, relationship problems, money issues. You could bring up any issue as long as you just say 1 or 2 words or 3 words, not a whole story. What's that?
You said out loud?
Yeah, you can say it out loud. I'll ask you. And we'll get source downloads, and you'll hear me say a few things. All the healing I do, I'm tapping into source consciousness, right? That's what I call it, creator, God, the divine. And everything I do will basically be to bring you into alignment with this, right? Because you are God, so we're just removing the density of the belief systems and the energy and the programs, right? Because we're like computers, we're like holograms, right? So we're removing this from our physiology and our makeup, and we're transmuting it into love, and then we give you a download of source consciousness on whatever you're meant. You'll hear me say the words. The point is, this is the most important part, is if you hear something you don't want, you just say no thank you. It's all based on free will. So in order to have what the downloads are, like I'll tell you, and I can get kind of wordy, because I'm in the zone too, and I'm translating, and sources give me big chunks of information. Sometimes I'm telling you what it's doing. I don't know. I'm in the zone. I don't know. But I'll ask you to say yes. You'll need to say yes to give your permission. So you want to be awake. Now, the only other thing I want you to do when you go take your break is to set your intention now and during the break that you're going to get the maximum benefits that you can possibly get, which are for your highest and greatest good. And only that, which is for your highest and best, okay? All right, so let's take like 5 to 7 minutes. Is that good?